Malcolm never recovered. A dead man walks through an entire movie and you don't know it until the final frame. M. Night Shyamalan didn't hide this. He engineered it. Every scene after the opening follows one iron law. Malcolm Crowe cannot interact with the living. His wife sits across from him at dinner. She never speaks, never looks at him, never acknowledges he exists. He meets with Cole's mother. They're in the same room. The camera cuts away before she responds because she never does. This isn't a ghost story. It's a restricted point of view weapon. You only see what Malcolm sees. And Malcolm doesn't know he's dead. The structure externalizes trauma, guilt, and denial through a character who cannot accept their own death. Shyamalan confirmed it in interviews. He built the entire film around this rule. But here's what the film actually shows. Every interaction you thought was mutual follows this same pattern. So, what actually happened in those scenes? The screenplay deliberately omits showing Malcolm's recovery or death. The film opens after the fatal event. The inciting incident is revealed retroactively through absence, not presence. What you don't see is the evidence. Malcolm wears the same clothes throughout the entire film. The same gray suit, the same tie, the same white shirt. His clothing never changes after the opening scene, reinforcing narrative stasis. Ghosts don't evolve. They're frozen the moment they die. And the color red, Shyamalan uses it consistently in scenes where the living world intersects with the dead. A doorknob, a balloon, a sweater, a tent. The color isn't decoration, it's a signal. A visual rule the film follows. Cole's tent is red. That's where he hides from the ghosts. But it's also where Malcolm finds him, because Malcolm is a ghost too. The doorknob to the basement is red. That's where Cole gets locked in with the dead. The balloon at the birthday party is red. It floats toward Cole, marking him as someone who can see. Malcolm's wife wears red to their anniversary dinner, the only color in an otherwise muted scene, because that's the moment Malcolm should realize she's alive and he's not. The rule The Sixth Sense operates on is simple. The dead don't know they're dead. Cole tells Malcolm this directly. They don't see each other. They only see what they want to see. They don't know they're dead. That line isn't about the ghosts Cole encounters, it's about Malcolm. Malcolm only sees what he wants to see. His work with Cole, his attempts to fix his marriage, his belief that he's still helping people. He doesn't see that Anna has moved on, that she's going to bed alone, that she's wearing her wedding ring like a widow. Watch the restaurant scene. Malcolm and Anna are having their anniversary dinner. Malcolm talks. Anna doesn't respond. She's crying, looking at her wedding ring. Then a man approaches. Asks if the seat is taken. Anna says it's not. Malcolm is sitting right there, and the man doesn't see him because Malcolm isn't there. Cole knows Malcolm is dead before Malcolm does. Watch their first session. Cole is cautious, careful. He's evaluating Malcolm the same way he evaluates every ghost. You're nice, but you can't help me because Malcolm is dead. And Cole has learned that dead people can't fix anything. They can only accept. Throughout the film, Cole guides Malcolm without saying it directly. He tells him stories about ghosts, about how they don't know they're dead, about how they need help letting go. He's not talking about random ghosts. He's talking about Malcolm, and Malcolm doesn't hear it, because denial is the first stage, and Malcolm is deep in denial. The structure mirrors the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. The protagonist moves through these stages without realizing they're processing their own death. This isn't accidental storytelling. It's intentional architecture. Cole is an outcast, ignored by authority figures, dismissed by his teachers, misunderstood by his mother, but he sees the truth. The film shifts focus from plot to Cole's perception, and Cole perceives what adults refuse to acknowledge. The perspective shift is subtle, but it's there from the beginning. The viewer emotionally aligns with Cole, and when Cole finally tells Malcolm, "I see dead people," the viewer understands that Malcolm might be one of them. The dying mind? Jacob's ladder doesn't wait until the end to tell you Jacob is dying. It shows you in the opening scene, Vietnam, a surprise attack. Jacob gets stabbed in the gut with a bayonet. He collapses. Then the film jumps to New York. Years later, Jacob is a postal worker, divorced, dating a woman named Jezebel, living a normal life, except nothing is normal. He sees demons in the subway. His ex-wife appears and disappears. Time fractures. His apartment changes. People he knows have different faces. Director Adrian Lyne confirmed the film is explicitly inspired by the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The entire movie depicts the moments before death, the bardo, the in-between state. Screenwriter Bruce Joel Rubin said the film shows the dying mind's final struggle. Jacob is revealed to be dying throughout the entire film, with events occurring in the moments before death. Hallucinations intensify as the body shuts down, aligning with medical descriptions of hypoxia. The demons represent his mind's resistance to letting go. The film's final staircase ascent visually mirrors the letting go described in Buddhist death texts. Jacob climbs stairs into white light. His dead son Gabe takes his hand, and the film cuts back to the field hospital. Jacob's body stops moving. A medic says he's gone. The life in New York never happened. The divorce, Jezebel, the postal job, all constructs of a dying mind trying to make sense of the transition. The rule in Jacob's ladder is the same as the sixth sense. The dying don't know they're dying. Jacob believes he's alive. He believes he's being hunted by the government, by demons, by conspiracies. But it's all internal. The demons are his fear. The conspiracies are his denial. The hunt is his mind refusing to accept death. The film even tells you this directly. A chiropractor named Louis says, "The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of life." That's not a metaphor. That's the thesis. Jacob is in hell because he's holding on. The demons intensify because he's resisting. The moment he lets go, the moment he climbs the stairs with Gabe, the hell ends. Same pattern as The Sixth Sense. Different skin. Both films show the same thing. Denial creates suffering. Acceptance creates peace. The structure is identical. The execution is different, but the rule underneath is the same. These films don't operate in isolation. They're following a pattern, a blueprint. And once you see the blueprint, you start seeing it everywhere. The original blueprint, Carnival of Souls, opens with a drag race, 3 women in a car. They're challenged by 2 men. The race goes across a bridge. The woman's car plunges into the river. Gone. Hours later, Mary Henry emerges from the water, muddy, bedraggled, but strangely not wet. The rescue team is shocked. They searched for hours, found nothing, and now she's just walking out. The protagonist survives a car accident in the opening scene that later proves fatal. But the film doesn't tell you this immediately. It lets you believe she survived, just like The Sixth Sense. Just like Jacob's ladder. Mary moves to Utah to work as a church organist. But from the moment she arrives, people treat her strangely. Other characters frequently ignore or fail to acknowledge her presence. She speaks, they don't respond. She reaches out, they don't notice. Sound design often isolates her from the environment, creating sensory disconnection. When Mary plays the organ, the music warps. When she walks through town, ambient noise fades. She's not in the same reality as everyone else. She's slightly removed, slightly apart. A ghoulish man in a tuxedo follows her. Pale face, black-rimmed eyes, dead expression. He appears in windows, in mirrors. On the street, always watching. Never speaking. Mary is drawn repeatedly to an abandoned lakeside pavilion. A rotting ballroom on the shores of the Great Salt Lake. Inside, ghouls dance in silence. Their movements slow, ritualistic. They're waiting for her. The final reveal confirms her body was submerged the entire time. The car is pulled from the river, 3 bodies inside. Mary never escaped. She drowned with the others. Everything after the crash was her mind processing death. Carnival of Souls was made in 1962, 17 years before Jacob's Ladder, 37 years before The Sixth Sense. This is the blueprint. The original already dead structure. Director Herc Harvey created the template that every other film would follow. The film heavily influenced later already dead narratives, including The Sixth Sense. M. Night Shyamalan has cited it as inspiration. The structure is identical. Opening trauma, apparent survival, gradual alienation, supernatural encounters. Final revelation. The pattern doesn't change, only the execution. And here's what makes Carnival of Souls important. It proves this wasn't invented by Shyamalan, it wasn't created by Rubin, it's been embedded in cinema for over 60 years. The device keeps getting used because it works, because audiences respond to it, because the structure mirrors something true about how we process trauma and denial, reversing the haunting. The Others takes place in 1945, a mansion on the island of Jersey. Grace lives there with her 2 children, Anne and Nicholas. The children have a medical condition, severe photosensitivity, light burns their skin, so every room must stay dark, every curtain drawn, every door locked. 3 new servants arrive: Mrs. Mills, Mr. Tuttle, the mute girl, Lydia. They claim they worked at the house before. They know the layout. They understand the rules. They're strangely familiar with everything. Grace starts hearing noises, footsteps, voices, doors opening. She believes intruders are in the house, ghosts, the living invading her space. She tries to protect her children. She searches every room. She demands the servants' help. But here's the twist. The protagonists believe intruders are haunting them, later revealed to be the living Metu. The house rules mirror purgatorial logic rather than physical reality. Director Alejandro Amenabar structured the story as a role reversal ghost narrative. Grace and her children are the ghosts. The intruders she hears are a living family trying to inhabit the house. The seance scene reveals this. A medium makes contact with the dead, and the dead are Grace and her children. They're the ones being contacted. They're the spirits refusing to leave. The servants already understand their death, functioning as guides. Mrs. Mills knows the truth from the beginning. She's been dead longer. She's there to help Grace accept. But Grace resists. Because denial is the pattern, the film avoids mirrors and reflections to delay recognition of death. Watch closely. Grace rarely sees herself. When she does, the image is distorted, obscured, incomplete, because confronting your reflection means confronting the truth. And Grace isn't ready. At the end, Grace finds photographs, old photographs, of dead people, a Victorian tradition, photographing corpses to preserve their memory. And in the photographs, Mrs. Mills, Mr. Tuttle, Lydia, all dead, posed, preserved. Then Grace finds the tombstones in the garden. 3 graves, her name, Anne's name, Nicholas's name, all dated 1945, the same year the film takes place. Grace remembers what happened. She smothered her children with a pillow, a moment of religious mania. She thought she was saving them. Then she realized what she'd done, and she shot herself. The house isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by Grace's inability to accept what she did. Her denial keeps her trapped, keeps her children trapped, keep them repeating the same patterns. Locking doors, closing curtains, hiding from the light. Secondary characters exist only to guide or challenge acceptance. The servants aren't there to clean. They're there to help Grace move on. The living family isn't there to intrude. They're there to show Grace she's the intruder now. The structure mirrors Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Grace moves through each stage. She denies the ghosts. She gets angry at the servants. She bargains with God. She falls into depression when she remembers. And finally, she accepts. Same pattern, different story. Same rule. The dead don't know they're dead until they're ready to know. Grief processing as horror. Lake Mungo presents itself as a documentary. A family is being interviewed about their daughter Alice. She drowned. Her body was found. They buried her. But strange things keep happening. Alice appears in photographs taken after her death. In the background, unnoticed at first, then unmistakable. Her brother Matthew is filming the house. And there she is, standing in hallways, looking through windows. Present, but not present. The film reveals that Alice died before many of the supernatural events occurred. The found footage elements suggest the family is processing grief rather than experiencing a haunting. Director Joel Anderson stated the film is about unresolved grief, not ghosts. But here's what makes Lake Mungo different. It questions whether Alice was ever alive and the memories were shown. The documentary format blurs psychological and supernatural explanations. Did Alice haunt the house? Or did the family's grief manifest her image? Or was Alice seeing her own death before it happened? The film uses documentary realism to make you question what's real. Interviews with family members, news footage, home videos. It looks authentic, it feels authentic, but it's fiction. A constructed narrative designed to feel like truth, and that's the point. These stories don't have to be literally true to be emotionally true. Alice appears in the background of scenes after her death, unnoticed. Because that's what grief does. It makes you see the dead everywhere. In crowds, in photographs, in reflections. Lake Mungo suggests that the already dead structure isn't about ghosts. It's about how the living process is lost. How we create narratives to make sense of absence. How we see patterns where there might be none. The family isn't haunted by Alice. They're haunted by the fact that they never really knew her. They discover secrets after her death. A hidden phone, a a buried video, evidence that Alice was living a life they didn't see, which means the Alice they knew was already a ghost. A version of her they constructed, and when she died, that version persisted. Because the living create the dead in their image, consciousness leaving the body, Enter the Void doesn't hide that the protagonist dies. It shows you in the first act. Oscar is shot in a Tokyo bathroom. The camera is his perspective, first person, and when the bullet hits, the perspective doesn't end. It rises. The camera lifts out of his body, floats above, look down at the corpse, and keeps moving, through walls, through time. Through memory. Director Gasparno confirmed, the film depicts post-death perception influenced by the Bardo Thodol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The same text that inspired Jacob's Ladder. The protagonist dies within the first act of the film. The camera perspective represents consciousness leaving the body. Time becomes non-linear after death, consistent with near-death experience reports. Oscar sees his past, his childhood, his sister, his traumas. He sees the present. His sister is grieving, his friends are mourning, his killers escaped. And he sees the future, or what might be the future, or what his consciousness imagines the future to be. The film never returns to a living point of view after the shooting. There's no twist where Oscar wakes up. No reveal that it was a dream. He's dead. And the entire film is what comes after. No structures enter the void to feel endless. The runtime is over 2 hours. The camera never stops moving. There are no cuts, no breaks, just continuous floating, drifting, observing, because that's what death might be. Not an ending, not a transition, just continuation. Consciousness without a body, perception without interaction. Watching the world continue without you. Oscar's perspective becomes increasingly abstract. Colors intensify, geometry fractures. The city becomes a pattern, buildings become mandalas, people become energy. The film suggests that consciousness doesn't end at death. It transforms. It loses the structure that life provides. Time, space, identity, all dissolve. And what remains is pure experience, untethered, unmoored. Same pattern as the other films. Different executions. Oscar is dead. His consciousness doesn't accept it, so it keeps perceiving, keeps witnessing, keeps trying to interact with a world it can no longer touch. The collapsing mind. Stay is about a psychiatrist named Sam who's treating a suicidal art student named Henry. Henry says he's going to kill himself on Saturday at midnight. And as Sam tries to prevent it, reality starts fracturing. People appear in multiple roles, locations shift, conversations repeat with different outcomes. Time doesn't flow linearly. The narrative fractures increasingly as the film progresses. The final reveal confirms events occurred during the moments of dying. Henry was in a car accident. The entire film takes place in the seconds before his death. His mind constructs a reality from fragments. Visual elements from the real world appear symbolically distorted. Director Mark Foster stated the film is structured as a collapsing consciousness. Every character Henry encounters is actually someone at the accident scene. The psychiatrist, the girlfriend, the witnesses. His dying brain assigns them roles in a narrative that makes sense, that gives him time to process. To decide if he wants to fight or let go. Repeated motifs of water and impact foreshadowed the fatal accident. Reflections in puddles, rain on windows, the sound of waves. Henry's mind is telling him the truth, but the truth is buried under layers of construction, of narrative, of denial. Stay operates on the same rule as every other film. The dying don't know they're dying, or they know but can't accept. So, the mind builds an alternative, a story where there's still time, still a choice, still meaning. The psychiatrist Sam isn't trying to save Henry. Henry is trying to save himself. The therapy sessions are Henry negotiating with his own mind. The deadline Saturday at midnight is the moment his body will stop fighting, the moment the brain will shut down. End. The film asks, in those final moments, do you fight or do you accept?